Good morning. I hope you're going jolly out there today. My name is Winifred Adams, and I'm your host at Making Life Brighter Radio here on Voice America Media. And we are here live every Thursday morning at 10 a.m. And I would like to welcome anyone that's new to the show and say thank you for those that listen regularly. It's a beautiful day here in sunny and beautiful Idaho. We have been in Malibu, we've been in New York, we've been all around the world since 2015 here and loyally with Voice America, and I am proud to be a part of this grouping. You want to talk about nice people in this world? That's what this company is about. It's a very, very pleasant company to be with. And I'd like to do a special shout out before we begin today's show because we're going to go into a deep dive today, but I'd like to say thank you to Black Law Manufacturing out of Edmonton, Canada, Edmonton, Alberta, where they may not be Canada for much longer, but Black Law Manufacturing makes this show possible and all of our segments. So I'd like to say a special shout out thanks. And if you have a high load that you can't get through or your parade is stuck, Black Law Manufacturing has your answer. They actually have a special invention that will help you and save you thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So reach out to them in Edmonton, Ontario, Black Law Manufacturing, and we'll have more on that later. So I want to say, special thank you to all the guests that we've had on. We've had special people here over the years. And 2 shows ago, I spoke about the MAHA movie. I'd like to bring that to your attention right now because the MAHA movie is not only a movie featuring and produced by RFK Jr., but it is including tremendous health experts, people who have suffered from any kind of injuries due to rogue healthcare or other things that weren't inappropriate in their treatment. And this is an opportunity for people to really get educated. So I can't say this enough. I really stand behind this. No one's paying me to say this, just so you know. This is what I really, truly feel. I have watched this. I have shared this. I have spent time digesting this, and I think you should too. It's free if you go to Facebook and look up MAHA movie or MAHA movement. And I really recommend that you get the whole thing, pay for it, get it. It's like $200. It'll be the best $200 you ever spent in your life. And you need to see the outtake with RFK Jr. That is one of the most pivotal pieces to the entire thing, I think. Here's a man that's out there. He's been advocating long before any political career, long before he ever stepped stage on anything. And I told you before in another show that, in fact, I was able to meet him in person and listen to him in one of my music composing groups that he came to speak with to randomly. And this was long before his actual run, if you will. So he was an advocate for education regarding the degree of the load and the frequency of the vaccines that were being given to children, not just what's in them or what they may be doing. And there was a huge push around the vaccines at that time regarding autism. And so everyone was putting their focus to autism. But I had doctors on this show that were actually afraid to speak. And they would say to me after the show, I can't say that on air. If I do, I'll lose my license. It's that bad. So this movie actually speaks to all kinds of illnesses and things that you might need to know, from compounded pharmacies near you and the savings that you could have with them. They spell it out. It's shocking. This is what people don't know that they need to know. So one of the most pivotal pieces of this particular documentary film, and it's really many films, it's probably 9 different segments plus. Then if you get the program, they actually offer you a program, plus you get other documentaries too, and we're going to go into those as well. But that is something that is so pivotal. So speaking RFK Jr., speaking health, speaking the MAHA movie, the MAHA movement right now, I'm inviting you to take advantage of that and get in the know, because if you're not in the know, you're just lagging behind in a system that's going to drag you along. But you may have other options, and this gives you those options. So I encourage you to look that up and see it. His segment, which is an outtake at the end of all that, once you pay for it, is tremendous. There's another movie all to itself. It's probably about 2 hours long, maybe 2.5 actually. And it's a really interesting personal biography almost of this man's life and what drove him all the way from the assassination of his relatives to where he was at the time, what motivated him. It's such an honest appraisal of a man that was born into privilege and born into front seat political strife, I'd say. Even though at the time growing up it seemed like privilege, it ended up being tragedy. How he handled that, what he did, how he took that to the next stage, and even how he rode the country on rail cars and what that was like. But imagine, here's somebody that is, born and bred, highly educated, and around people that have lots of means to do whatever. So he stepped out of that. He kind of went out on his own and found himself. Then he found himself also after a life of education and falconry, which is really interesting. I bet most people don't know that. He had a special affinity to falcons and is really big even today into falconry. And so his portrayal of his life is just, I think, what everybody needs to see in terms of someone being brutally honest about their life. He's clearly contemplated the things he's gone through. He's able to articulate in that very succinctly how he has come through different tragedies, how he didn't manage them, how he did manage them, and how he picked himself back up. Most surprising in that, however, is when he fell addicted. And when the addiction came on, very interesting story. And I say that because I'm coming from a health perspective. And any kind of addiction is very difficult to work with because the addiction process is one that has people forced to face themselves, and it's easy to lie to yourself if you're an addict and you're just letting yourself down, you're letting yourself down, and it's hard to overcome that. And he speaks to that. It's such a beautiful, moving piece. And when he finally made that turn, when he was able to actually overcome his addiction, which someone prompted him into, which was very interesting. They said, hey, take this. And he took it. And from that point forward, he was addicted. And so when he finally found his way out of that, it's so interesting because he was talking about how he was too well known and his family was too well known for him to want to go and get help. He justified not getting help because he was afraid that everyone would, know him, and then he's speaking his heart out to groups that would then turn around and maybe share his personal information. So therefore, he didn't want to do that. But then he ended up getting somehow turned around where something publicly happened, and I'll save that for you to watch. And that finally, since everything was laid on the table publicly, it finally gave him the okay to say, I need to change. Because he wanted to change all the way along, but he couldn't, he felt. And then that one incident allowed him to change. And, living in LA, being in the music industry, all that kind of thing, there are more, I'm laughing because it's more of a well-known fact there, that there are more rehabs in Southern California than there are probably across the whole country combined. And actually, I know a woman that was a psychologist that treated a lot of people there, and she was in the know of many of those rehab centers, which there you can easily set up and create, but are they really rehab centers? Not all of them are. And some of them got busted a lot because they were actually drugging the people while they were there visiting. And this became a racket. It became an actual issue. And that issue turned into an entire criminal operation. And that criminal operation immediately got sussed out. And she was instrumental in that. She even had a hit out on her because of that. It was crazy. But what's more interesting is that that got cleaned up and exposed for what it is. And it's a huge way of life out there. I'm sure it is anywhere. I mean, we usually think of big cities, New York, Atlanta, Detroit, Houston, whatever. But just that people everywhere are struggling, and they're struggling with these types of things. And he spells it out in this so beautifully. And what he did to bring himself back around and the balance that he has now, that RFK Jr. holds today, is not only inspirational, it's something that is above and beyond. He has really taken the time to go through and analyze himself. We're not talking politics. We're not even talking about all the knowledge he has and the fights that he's fought, though he speaks about that too, in regards to advocacy for people's well-being and health. But he took his best gifts and then applied them as service to the public. And after much analysis or self-analysis, he was able to take those gifts and turn around and use them for good. And so I can't point this out enough. I stand firmly behind what I'm telling you because it was so inspirational. It made people cry that heard it. It's amazing. So if you or anyone you know would like to know more honest information about the healthcare system and or has a need to have someone inspired that might be trying to get through any kind of addiction process, you might want to get that and share it with them. Watch it with them. Go through it with them. This is an extraordinary piece of work. Having come from production in places where, we make music videos, we're around people that make movies and featured films and documentaries and all these innovative visionaries. And that's what Making Life Brighter is really about. And so this is one of those moments, again, just like when we covered Vaxxed here, I really want to bring your attention to this. This is something that's going to help the world. And when you tune into the MAHA movie, you're going to see what I mean. They've carefully considered what they have featured. They have carefully considered and included many of the people that I know personally, people that I've met, conferences I've been a part of, including Fran Drescher's conference. And Fran is particularly an advocate for wellness and health because she had cancer as well. And so they're talking about that. They're talking about the science behind that. We need more of honesty because those that are keeping the truth from you are keeping you ill. And the more they wind up your mind with taglines of you're this, you're that, you don't have a chance to heal the same way. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to focus on some more the latest information, a little bit of intel that might be interesting to some and shocking to others, but that's all right. We're in a change space, and this next month coming up is a change space. Change in the world, change in the banking, change in whatever systems are in play, and we have yet to see the final plays. When you know the truth, and you're waiting to see how this all works out. So you're listening to Making Life Brighter Radio. I'm your host, Winifred Adams. Thank you for listening. Again, if you have a high load going through your town and you have trouble moving those traffic lights, Black Law Manufacturing out of Edmonton, Alberta, has your solution. So We will be right back. Stay tuned. You're listening to Making Life Brighter right here. And we're back. You're listening to Making Life Brighter Radio. I'm your host, Winifred Adams. Thank you for listening. And if you are looking for a good medical intuitive, you can book an appointment at through Making Life Brighter. You can go to makinglifebrighter.com and check out all the information there. You can also get specially charged water. So the new theme of everything is going to be the water. And we know that the Stem Cell Patch Company has come out with a special new water, right? So the focus is going to be on the water, and the war will be on the water. The final war is going to come down to water. Right now, the data centers that I spoke about a couple shows ago are drying up riverbeds, and they are sucking the water out to cool the systems. How is that going to fix itself? How is it going to turn into a better system? Well, we have yet to find out. We have the data that these are definitely milking the grid of energy. Perhaps we're about to switch over to Tesla energy. And we will be having some guests upcoming that deal with Tesla energy, that actually have some solutions for the whole of the world, yet unseen, the most advanced in the world, which is very interesting. And I look forward to sharing that with you. Right now, however, going back to Robert Kennedy Jr. and his fight, I would say fight, I don't like to use that word here, but it is a fight, his fight with Big Pharma, and now the things that are being passed in the background, the laws that are being passed. So while people are still trying to be very red and blue, the real people on the ground know that this has nothing to do with red and blue, that this has to do with the people as a whole, and the resources that we're left over with, and or that which is injuring the population. And how do we get out of this sinking healthcare system that we have and move into a place of abundance and wholeness? Now, back in 2019, I did an interview with Full Colin Russell - J. Colin Gould, and the first thing he said, that if he were brought forward at that time, that he would be focusing on a jubilee, a time when all debts were paid. Within 72 hours of bringing him forward, debts would be paid, things would be handled. And he stated in an August interview I did that year that, in fact, he would make sure that the food and the water was healthier, because essentially we're being poisoned by unhealthy food, or our crops are being grown with too many fertilizers and toxins, essentially. Kind of like we just sussed out some on X. You can follow me at Winifred Adams, and I posted some things about the strawberries and the degree of the fertilizer and the pesticides that are in those quote unquote healthy fruits. So you're really not getting that benefit. You're potentially exposing yourself to great risk because of the amount of toxicity that's going into them. And so he spoke about how the world needed to clean up its food and water. And why was that? Because he said people have lost the capacity to think, and they've lost the capacity to really see and hear. And when you clean up the food and the water properly, which is apparently purposely being done to us, as you can see in the MAHA film, Russell was talking about how the people need a year off. They need a year from all the other things that are going on and a jubilee so that they can heal. Now that is a really powerful statement if you think about it. That tells you the degree of toxicity we really find ourselves in, and all these rapid cancers, all these odd diseases that have to do with tremors and, young people dying in numbers like never ever before. This is something we need to look at. So that brings me to my next information spot here. I'd like to bring your attention to a woman that spoke up. She has a very interesting book out there. And first of all, her book currently is called Dangerous Misinformation. And this is, she is just being attacked ever since she put this book out. She has a very interesting story. She has a beautiful audiobook along with this. So you can buy the book, Dangerous Misinformation, or you can get the audiobook. And you can hear her story about the medical industry from the inside out. And Mary had gone through and become an ear, nose, and throat specialist. But she also came along at the time of the jab. And when that happened, people ended up flooding her, and she ended up kind of specializing in certain things around that. Well, now that she's done so much research and she has seen the light similar to RFK Jr. and what he's put out about what he found, now she's full on being attacked. So I encourage you to get this book and to listen to it because she has amazing information. She's got a great foundation for what she's done. She is the founder of Americans for Health Freedom. And she has kept 6,000 plus COVID-19 patients out of the hospital. She sued the FDA for spreading misinformation, and she has been a tremendous advocate for people's health and well-being. And she's got this book out right now called Dangerous Misinformation. So I hope that you will check it out and maybe take a listen or watch it, read it. It's now she's in a fight because they're turning around, they're suing her. And that's what they like to do, of course, So there are many people like the fellow that developed tapping, EFT, emotional freedom technique, one of my favorite things to do with people. They just didn't want that information out there at the time that he was inspired by God to put it out there. And he was so inspired that he just showed the world what it was. And then he got sued to oblivion to put him basically mute. And that's really sad because he had such a beautiful gift, and that gift was coming straight from above. And boy, is that gift powerful. So the one thing they're going to find out the hard way is whether they like it or not, people of the light are going to continue to use the gifts of the light, and that'll never stop. It'll never end. So the light is always brighter, and the light is showing through right now. No matter what, it's going to come through. And all the people that believe in that, and there's so many more educated people at this point since COVID. So many people have awakened, and the next stage is coming right now. So I encourage you, please, to go get the MAHA movie. Now, there's a couple other cool things that I want to share with you because we have cool people that we're aware of here on Making Life Brighter, and the visionaries and the research that I do for you and the people that I share with you. You can see some of those people here, and you can also research some yourself and find out. But if you follow along on X at Winifred Adams, you will find a lot of my postings. And there's some things out there that are uncomfortable, and I don't even like posting. But you know what? The truth needs to be told. It needs to be out there, because there is an epidemic of weakness that's happening on Earth right now. And it's happening right now. So it's time to kind of wake up to it, and prayer is essential. I've never really focused on that on this show until now, but I feel it's a time that's really asking us to not apologize for that and to bring it forward. Those of us that are in the healing world and understand quantum physics, we also understand that the interplay of energetics and molecular biology, molecular physics, things like that. And we don't necessarily always talk about prayer, but prayer is an actual scientific formula. And that scientific formula, when done with appropriate energy, brings forth blessings. It brings forth a rearrangement of energy. It brings forth an outcome that may not sting so much, as the masters say. And so we've had a lot of energies that are weak today. And I want to say that very clearly, because this is what I mean. People that do evil are weak. They're weak spiritually. They can pretend all they want to, but they're weak. People that are not weak don't choose that. They aren't used by darkness to do things. They stand up in the light to do things for others and to give others the opportunity to do better as well. They operate from an entirely different space of vibration, frequency, and conduct. And that's something that we're seeing right now. We're seeing these horrific acts, these crazy things. Like, I just posted something today where a guy in Fort Lauderdale, God, he got arrested because a woman had a car accident and was injured. And he caught up to her and actually took advantage of her in the situation, and I won't say more about that. But instead of helping her, he took advantage of her while she was injured. This is the kind of sickness that's going on right now. And it is a sickness. And it's a weakness of spirit. Straight up. It is a weakness. We are in a time where people say there's a war, and it's biblical. The war is within ourselves, first and foremost. And that war needs to be straightened out with the light, not the dark. When you're weak, you allow dark through you, period. I've seen it. I work with it. I pull it out of people. Literally, I have to straighten them out each and every day, because their mind allows a different mentality, which starts a different chemistry running. We need to put our faith, even if you don't have faith, like Robert Kennedy Jr. said in the movie, fake it till you make it. Do it. Do whatever it takes to stay in the light. Do whatever it takes to put yourself in a better position of the light. To perpetually be in secret means you have a problem. So seek help because you have a problem. It is weakness of spirit. The light that comes from people that are strong is evident. So putting prayer forward right now is necessary because there are a lot of weak minds that are going on. And as the frequencies like the 5G and the 6G raise, more people will be affected by this. And we don't need that on Earth. We are going to a better place. And I remind you again, we are going to a better place today. There are more people of the light that are moving that light. No matter what people try to do to stop it, it will never stop shining because we're moving out of the dark age. The Kali Yuga is ending, and we're moving into this light frequency time frame. It's not even a choice. It's happening. Like it or not. Either you're going to go for the ride or you're not going to. So get on board because people are suffering. We can pray for all those that have been injured. We can pray for those that are weak, and we can pray for those that need assistance. So, dear God, please give us the strength to stay in the light, to move only by inspiration and your will. Let it be done. And we'll be back. You're listening to Making Life Brighter Radio. And yeah, we're serious today. It's a good day, but you need to know. So lots of love, and we'll be right back. Stay tuned. We've got more right here in Making Life Brighter. Thank you all for listening today on this beautiful Thursday. We hope you're going jolly, and appreciate you and all of your sharing with people, all of the amount of support that you give here. And again, we want to shout out Black Law Manufacturing for all of your swivel and high load needs. And that is up in Edmonton, Alberta. Now, Edmonton is the hub for all that's going down up there. And Alberta, as Michael Jaco was even saying, it may not be long before they are the next state in the United States territory. Now, from a postmaster perspective, that is a territory. And so this will be interesting to see how those lines get divided and what happens. And I'll look forward to seeing that. From the standpoint of those in common law, they also think it's a territory by way of the old republic. But from the grammar standpoint, it is a territory because Full:_Russell-J: Gould changed all that in 1999. So it'll be very interesting to see what comes out next and where the momentum of all this is taking us. Now, I just want to recap what I talked about last segment, and that is Mary Talley Bowden, MD. And that is the book that she has written called Dangerous Misinformation. You can find it on audiobook. You can find it on regular book. And she has a very compelling story to tell. It's something that everybody should educate themselves with. Here is a person that was not necessarily politically motivated in any way, but stumbled into a lot of facts and research that ended up being very influential to the point where they really don't want her speaking about it. So now, on to the things that other people love to hear, whether we want to call it conspiracy or not. A couple years back, I did a show here with someone, and I had like 46,000 views of that show on my YouTube channel, Making Life Brighter. and 46,000 views. It went up like 10,000 every 2 hours. It was crazy. It's the biggest show I've ever done, and it was from former special ops that was akin to the real Jason Bourne, and he ended up having a very compelling story. But we were talking about Nasera and Jacera at the time. We talked about his life and the things that he did and what it was like to basically be a government assassin. And that was a shocking but compelling talk, because they ended up trying to do him in and take his whole unit out. And he survived and was taken in by somebody over in, I don't know, Cambodia, Vietnam, wherever they were, and nursed back to life and had a near-death experience that changed his perspective and his life. And that ended up having him realize maybe he was fighting the wrong war, or he was fighting for something at the time that really wasn't for the good of the people. So very, very interesting interview, and he went in depth on Nasera and Jacera. He also said in that interview that he was aware of the fact that in what we'll call fiction grammar, that was actually signed way back when by Clinton. And it was signed by him in 1999. Now that's interesting because he said it was signed at gunpoint. Like, he had to sign that document. And that document would have already produced the relief of Nasera Jacera presently. But instead, the deep state withheld it, pulled it back, and people aren't able to see the benefit of that. Now, that's interesting because that's the same time that Full Colon Russell - J. Colon Gould came along and saved the country from it going back to being a colony under Great Britain. Why do people not know that? I don't know. I spent 4 years putting it out there. So you can go back through and see and listen to everything on YouTube and here. But you can also go to the documentary called Piercing-Dynasty.com, and you'll find that on my YouTube page on Making Life Brighter. But that is the truth of what has happened. So what's going to play out now, I'm not quite sure. But those are the facts. And I think that one fellow was present during that signing of that, even though we haven't seen it come to pass. However, that brings me to the next point, that we are supposed to see that come to pass accordingly very soon. So here I'm going to read you something that came up the other day. This is where we are right now in the landscape of the world, and this is very interesting. And Paul Goldeagle on X said this, and I want to read you this because this is very interesting. 2 executive orders, back to back, same pen. One kills the IRS permanently. The Doge language says, forever barred and precluded from examining or prosecuting. That's not a pause. He's saying this. That's a death certificate for the tax collection arm of the old system. And now the next point. The other opens the Federal Reserve payment rail to digital assets and non-bank institutions without a banking license. Now, I kind of wonder if that's actually true, if it is without a banking license, because there still has to be some kind of even fiction jurisdiction. I don't know how they're going to get around that. But back in 1999, Full Colon Russell - J. Colon Gould had disqualified, actually it was in 2003, I think, he disqualified the Federal Reserve then. The problem is the powers that be that run all the trafficking and all the terrible things in the world just didn't want to set it down and buck the system. So he went to Salt Lake and met with some people in some temples there that had a lot to do with all those things and set that straight. And now we are where we are. Now we're going to see what Trump does with that, because I don't really know. But here's what Paul says. He just opened the door to a system that doesn't need banks. Oh, that's different. Why would you kill the IRS unless the collection system has already been replaced? The QFS, that's the quantum financial system that they've been talking about in the fiction, went live on May 8th in 209 countries, running parallel to the SWIFT since midnight of that night. Every sovereign citizen is being assigned a quantum ledger tied to their birth certificate bond. And we know the birth certificate is a means by which they trade you, so we're understanding of that at this point. And if you don't know that, you might still want to go back and watch that documentary I suggested. And the value they stole from you the day you were born. Your birth certificate has been traded as security since 1933, and your social security number is a bond tracking number. Every human is worth between $100,000 and $450,000 in stolen compound interest on lawful debt and the seized labor value. GESARA Article 21 debt nullification is now computing. Every mortgage, student loan, credit card, every medical bill charged with unlawful compound interest since 1971 is being calculated and encoded into your ledger as you read this. The gold is in Fort Knox. Now that's interesting because where did the gold go? They said it got taken out of Fort Knox and maybe moved. And there was a little buzz about it being in Scotland. 147.3 million ounces of gold in Fort Knox. But the audit team that entered March 14th under Executive Order 14271 found more. They found more than that. Gold repatriated from the Vatican Bank. Interesting. From the Bank of England and from Basel, Switzerland. Nowhere on any public ledger was it found. And the reference is Knox-Audit-2026-0314-Sigma. Total value, not 692 billion, 43 trillion. That is the gold that backs your new currency. Now, currency is another question we have coming up, because if Full Colon Russell -J Gould has the Title IV flag, you need a flag and a periodic table to have currency. So we'll see what that does. Trump said, "I want to see the gold because he wants you to ask why." The answer, the gold is there, and 43 trillion more, and it is yours. It belongs to you, the people. And then he goes into the revaluation of currency. And he says, Tier 4B notifications started 96 hours ago. Redemption centers were established in 800 locations. Waiting for one sign, Trump walking into Fort Knox on camera and opening the 20-ton door. Well, if that's true, and that comes around for people, it would be a relief one way or the other, however it comes around. Then he goes on to say, when he opens it, the EBS fires. That's the emergency broadcast system, which has already been tested in multiple big cities. The EBS fires, locking the QFS into place. When the QFS locks your debt disappears. And when your debt is gone, you are liberated. They keep you as a slave for 53 years. Every dollar you owed was a lie. Every interest payment was theft. The guy who said they stole a lot is about to prove it live on television. The door opens once. So that'll be interesting to see, A, if that happens, and B, if you actually get to be the recipient of that. I don't think this play is over because there's a few different pieces to the puzzle from varying sides of the fence. So what gets to play out and what the bottom line is, I have shared, I believe, over time for people here, and it is up to people to see and take that information and use it accordingly. If this is a correction that stops all the trafficking, all of the dark three-letter agency stumbling and bumbling, as Russell calls them, idiots, if it stops that, then that would be amazing, because the amount of trafficking is epic. Humans, just humans, not even children, humans, adults. It's disgusting. And we have an opportunity here to stay in the light. So I again bring you back to the MAHA movie because it's going to give you so, so much. So with that, that's food for thought. You're listening to Making Life Brighter Radio, and I'm your host, Winifred Adams. Follow along on YouTube and Making Life Brighter, and on X at Winifred Adams. And we will be right back with more information for you here. This is a very interesting day, and we are entering a very interesting time frame on Earth. So stay tuned and keep it steady. We'll be right back. How is everybody out there today? We've been dropping a lot of heavy information here, and I want to go back to what we were talking about regarding health. This is really about health because Making Life Brighter was founded on the Health and Wellness Channel when Voice America was in its first version before COVID hit. And when that happened, we switched a gear. We kind of went broader in our perspective, but initially this was housed on the Health and Wellness Channel, and that's how I got into things like the vaccines and specialty healing and so on. So I want to tell people that if they would like medical intuitive reading and or very powerful blessed water that is custom made for whatever your body systems are, I'm using that. I'm doing that in my practice right now, and that is a very powerful thing. I have somebody right now that has been, not misdiagnosed, but the doctors can't figure out what's going on. So I'm sort of deeply involved in that. And nothing was easily giving relief to that person. And they took that water and they put it under their tongue, and they could feel it all through their whole body. It changed everything instantly. And so that is something that is very powerful. And when I spoke about in the last segment regarding water is going to be our thing upcoming, in fact it is. And the people that do the stem cell patches, David Schmidt has now put his focus onto water. A couple years back when I did the show on Einstein, the crystal skull that came to the house and did the thing, that was amazing. And at the time, Carolyn, who was the keeper of Einstein, and Einstein is one of those 13 not manufactured on Earth kind of crystal skulls. She was talking about Einstein was focusing on the blessing of the waters of the earth and putting all the energy into the purification of the waters. Well, we are mostly water, and you can hear about that in the MAHA movie. And the water that is in our body has a frequency. So if you change the frequency of the water, you change the expression of the water, you have the ability to change the chemistry of the body and help all the cells, because the cells need far more water than you think. Now, how do you balance that? Well, there's salt regulation, and science has proven that having the right balance of salt and potassium is actually greater for you than avoiding salt, because you need the salt to conduct electricity in your being for the current to come out of your heart and actually run through your body, but also to direct the show of what goes through your liver and conjugates and comes out the other side as a hormone directive. And the hormone directive needs the pulse of that electrical current. So anyway, you can find this on X, and I want to share with you a very cool book that you all might want to get a copy of. It's called Vitalogy, I guess is the best way to say it. Vitalogy, Vitaloggy. And Vitalogy is a health encyclopedia that was published in 1914. You can find this on Amazon, and I would recommend you do. In the pages, the authors claim that the human body can live well beyond 100 years if we eliminate the mineral deposits that accumulate on the organs. This is a really fascinating take on this. According to them, bones could last 4,000 years. That might explain some things back in the day and why we're finding these people intact. Lungs could last 1,500 years, and skin could last 1,000 years. The main cause of diseases and premature death? Deposits of animal soil and insoluble minerals that build up in the heart, liver, kidneys, and arteries, just like limescale in a kettle. Their remedy? Drink distilled water daily. Now, I drink distilled water constantly, and I take trace minerals on the side, similar to what we talked about with Robert Scott Bell when he was on the show. But I always, since I was a teenager, have supplemented with trace minerals. And I need more right now because I'm depleted and I'm dehydrated, which means I'm not hormonally speaking properly and I'm gaining weight. So need more water, more minerals, etc. They explain that distilled water has the power to gradually absorb these deposits and eliminate them from the body. And then the pharmaceutical companies came along, and with it, its essential minerals, its mineral-enriched waters, and its lifetime supplements. Coincidence or strategy? And so we're told that distilled water is blank, or it's not very good for us. But in fact, it's the thing that scrubs these mineral deposits off the organs, according to this book, Vitalogy. Vitaloggy. So I recommend that you get a copy of that and check it out. It's on Amazon. And if you want some blessed water that's also going to help your frequency and your illnesses, help you bring your systems up so that you have optimum functioning in your system, reach out at makinglifebrighter@yahoo.com and I can custom make one for you. It is amazing and it is really fun to do. So like to share that good health stuff with you all because we are coming into a time where, our water is polluted. We have more water, even the animals. We give animals the water, but what's coming out of the tap? Well, RFK Jr. just ensured that we will not have fluoride and we will have better water coming along. And that's been a huge fight for people along the way because fluoride calcifies the third eye, and the third eye being calcified doesn't allow for all the light to come into your body again. So you are a really spectacular being should you choose to use yourself that way, but you have to keep it in that prime, right? So we have a lot working for us, and I hope that you'll reach out and check out that movie at MAHA because it will spell out some more facts of what I'm laying out to you right now. But our future will be about water, and the pollution that's happening based on all the pharmaceuticals people are inputting into their body, all the antidepressants, all the other things. Guess where it goes? In the water, in the wastewater. But guess what? It doesn't always come out of the wastewater. It gets recycled and put back into your tap water or the water you're drinking. And 90% of your bottled water is polluted. Then you're giving that to your animals. So we are taking in other people's pharmaceuticals through our water, and we wonder why we're having difficulty overall in our body systems. This is going to be an epidemic, and all of the land and the water systems will be polluted. The fish you eat, the things that you intake, we are in it. And so blessing yourself with purified, high frequency water is going to be your number one elixir upcoming. This is going to be very powerful. So if you'd like some customized blessed water, reach out at makinglifebrighter@yahoo.com. And you can go to X and follow along there, because I post a lot of these things that I'm talking about as I do the research and look for what it is that Spirit is guiding me to bring forward for you at this time. And though we have so much light coming into the planet, and we do, we have, like I said, a lot of weak souls that are being used by the dark side to do really nefarious and stupid things, I'd say. Things that are unconscious and unkind. And we have to move away from that because the light is stronger. And it's not fun when people get to a place where they finally leave this planet and they look back on Earth and go, oh man, I messed all that up. I don't wish that on anyone. I wish people would optimize to their highest frequency and their good and bring forth cooperation and love. And that's my 2 cents for today, folks. I thank you very much for listening to Making Life Brighter Radio here on Voice America Media every Thursday live at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And go ahead and check out that movie, get those books, do a little research, and find out what could be a simple solution. And so we will have more for you here. Stay tuned, and you can get on our newsletter at makinglifebrighter@yahoo.com. Thank you so much. Go jolly and go out and make someone else's life brighter. We'll see you next week right here on Making Life Brighter.